the internet, welcome back to the Waifus. I'm Sefhi, your favorite gambling addict, and today's topic is going to be Tove Treasure Phase 3 and why this is the best treasure this batch, at least on this batch that we just got. As usual, before we start, leave a like and subscribe to help me grow the channel, and let's jump directly into why this treasure is so good, why it fixed all the issues Tove had, even though it's, changing one line, and why this is so far, at least for us, in terms of the priority for treasures, most likely the only one that we will recommend for this batch. And when we talk about recommending, it's going to be like a good bad situation, and most likely Tove goes here, Ollie and Bay go into the rest, characters that you will barely see outside of their niches, on this case PvP. And Julia, we are waiting because she might actually be not a meta character, but she might be a good treasure. So we're waiting to see. I have a phase 2 ready to test. I'm just waiting for the phase 3, and I'll make a video on that soon. That said, tier list wise, in case you guys are interested, so far Tove was bumped one tier to T1 right here. And then of course, Bay remains on T4 with normal Bay because it's still a PvP character. For PvE, doesn't make sense, so she will remain at the same tier, even though her heals can be considered decent now thanks to having a full charge, but still it's not enough. That said, let's jump into Tove, her skills, and what's going on with her. I will talk also a little bit about how to build her in case you guys are interested. So let's start with the skills. The only thing that's important for us is a skill 1. The rest is just small buffs, and we'll talk about them on a moment. So a skill 1 change from activates on a percentage chance, on a 5% chance when performing attacks, to activates when performing 10 normal attacks. So this basically fixes all the RNG. There is no more 5% chance. You shoot 10 bullets, you get your stacks. It is easier to get the stacks, it is easier to keep the stacks, so the RNG for all of your shotgun characters, which is gonna be this one right here, it's basically gone. Now, a lot of people were thinking that this means now you can leave a skill 1 at level 4 and that's enough, but not. Sadly, you still need to get this at least level 9. And the reason for level 9 is that if you come here on the normal skills, right, the reason why we left the skill 1 at level 9 was because it was a 5% chance. Anything below, it was a 4%, 3%, and a 2% awful, right? So you want the level 9 for the 5% chance. If you go to treasure skills, however, you'll see that below level 9, it's still 15 normal attacks, and if you keep going down, it's 25. That's why the breakpoint is still the same at level 9. Sadly, that does not change. Skill 2 and Burst also do not change. It's only a slight buff, but it's good enough that it's worth taking them to level 7. Previously, the recommended build for Tove was like a 944, but now she got buff. It's actually recommended to go 977 if you can. So now with the treasure on skill 2, what she's gonna be getting is an increased critical rate, nothing else. The critical rate goes from a 2-3% all the way to a 10%, so like a 7% increase. Not that good, but hey, it's less crit fishing for raids basically. So if you dislike crit fishing, this is gonna be helping you a little bit on those shotgun runs. And then lastly, the burst changed to 15 seconds on the buffs instead of 10 seconds. This is for the people who are still using Bunny Soda on the shotgun team, because as you all know, she extends the burst, making it so you can run no cooldown reduction on your characters. And not only extending the full burst time, but also her own buffs are 15 seconds. So now you're getting longer buffs that benefit B-Soda and the shotgun team overall. That's it about the skills. Now there is also a couple things you want to be getting, because previously without the treasure, you wanted to get a couple lines of max ammo, but they weren't necessary. You could just be running a resilience and have a really fast reload, because she is already like a 1 second, right? And that was enough. But now with the treasure, considering it's based on how many bullets you shoot, if you get a couple lines of max ammo, plus her own buffs, plus running Bastion as the cube instead of running anything else. Timmy, I'm gonna be changing your cube, fuck if. This should be enough to never have to reload. I don't know if Timmy got more than 1 line, but if you get a couple lines, yeah, 2 lines there, 3 lines, that is enough, even though this is a low percentage on this one too, to not have to reload. A couple lines, Bastion and her own skills, that is enough. You might run into some situations, depending on the boss and the mechanics, where you will inevitably have to cover or reload, but for the most part, that is enough. There is something else she benefits from. You could be going for an elemental and attack, but it's a support. Let us be honest, her damage is never going to be like that great. There are support characters that can put out really good numbers, Siren, but for the most part, normal supports don't really bring a lot of damage. So I will just focus on getting a couple max ammo lines and call it a day. Outside of those things, there is nothing much to say, to be honest. We'll talk about compositions too. Her skills, even though they fix all the RNG, My biggest problem is that it's like a lazy treasure, like a skill 1, surely, yeah, that's all the complaints we had. But then it's like a 7% increase on crit rate and a 5% and a 5-second extension on the burst boost. So it's like that took way too long for just to be a treasure. That can be a normal buff, but shift up is never doing normal buffs just to have the excuse of putting them into treasures instead, which I personally think is really lazy and really scummy. The only reason is to keep you here longer waiting for a treasure for a character you might like in 3-4 years, in my opinion. That said, team compositions. Has anything changed on the shotgun meta? Yes. So Timmy, I'm sorry, I'm fucking up your first team here. Usually for the shotgun team you would always be bringing Tove. The only other requisite, honestly, for the shotgun team to work was B-Soda. That was like the only other thing you really cared about, right? And then so recently we got the Drake treasure, which is also a really good treasure to be buffing shotguns. And then you would be running, depending on the raid. If it's water, you could still bring Leona, but kind of XD. If not, people were running JKs, aka schoolgirls, if the boss has a core, or bunnies, if not for the sustain. That was like the usual team compositions. But now it's kind of changing because it's no longer the best option. The best option now is Dorothy Serendipity. This changes also because the best buffer for her, if you were to be running that team, is going to be wait, you do not have, I am blind, bro, here, Grave. The best buffer is going to be Grave, just because of the pierce damage in Dorothy on the skill 1 when she goes into the sniper form, right? So this changes a little bit the shotgun teams. More than changes, it opens up more compositions. You can be running this and then put Dola as your B2. I don't know where Dola is there. You could be running a normal shotgun team instead if you want, removing Drake and putting a steel Bunny Soda so you benefit from the 15 seconds and you don't have to worry about the rotations. Like, there is a lot more compositions that are opening up thanks to this, but if you are running Dorothy as your main damage dealer, sadly Bunny Soda is losing a lot of usage. So that's why it's a little bit weird that they increase the buffs to 15 seconds and then they release Dorothy Serendipity. It's like, are you just giving us more options? Did you forget you were releasing this treasure, or what's going on? Shift up. That said, honestly, a really good treasure. The only one for this batch that I will say is worth building. Outside of that, Julia might be a great DPS. When I test, I'll make a video on that and we'll talk about it. For now, that is everything for the Tove updated build, or updated treasure, or I don't know what I call this video. Enough jumping, we are live every single day, boys. You have links in the description if you want to drop by, say hello. As usual, good luck with your pool dinner rates, and I'll see you in the next one.